This computer. Baruch Hashem. Thank you very much. Okay, so let's get started with the issues of the new realities that we have to deal with this Pesach. And issue number one is Tevilas Kelim, is immersing of vessels. Our mikveh in La Jolla is still open. I don't know how much longer it's going to be able to stay open. Many of the mikvahs here, many of the Kelim mikvahs are open. Many of them are not open. And because of that, there is a new reality. In Pesach, very often we buy things, we get new vessels, metal, glass that needs to be toveled in a mikvah. And this year, it might be challenging to actually be able to get to a mikvah, to be able to tovel the things that we have. We cannot use vessels if they're not toveled. We say that they have a tumah on them, they have an impurity on them. It is not just a custom, it is actually a law, and it's an obligation on our part to go into tovel kelim. So there are, though, two things that can be done around the situation where you can't get to a mikvah. I want to underline that many of the things I'm going to tell you that you can do this year are specific to this year, and that they should never be applied to other situations without first consulting a Rav. Okay, so the first thing you can do with Tfilas Kelim is that we know that it is a vessel that belongs to a Jew that was purchased from a non-Jew that needs to have tevilah, that needs to have immersion in a mikvah. If the vessel was not, in fact, purchased from a non-Jew or is made by a Jew, or if the vessel belongs to a non-Jew and it's being borrowed by a Jew, so then it would be permissible, it would not require tevilah, would not require immersion in a mikvah. There are many catering companies in the past that in America, what they would do is that they would take all of their vessels and they would be makna them. They would give them over to a non-Jew and then they would borrow it back from the non-Jewish worker. So really, technically on paper, it belonged to the non-Jew, so it didn't require tevilas kelim. Now that's a shtick because there was a way just to get around having to sit in a mikvah for a couple of hours. This is not a shtick because we don't necessarily have that ability to be able to get to a mikvah. For many people, that's going to be a real challenge. And therefore, one of the things that's available to us that we would be allowed to do would be that if we would take our house help or a non-Jew, a non-Jewish worker, somebody that we stay, of course, far away from, right? We practice social distancing, but we are makna the kli to them. We give it to them, we give the vessel to them, and they acquire it, and therefore it belongs to them. We can then use it, and then we'll talk to them when the mikvah opens again. We'll make some kind of arrangement with them, and we'll take it, and we will then own that keli. We'll own that vessel. This could be done also, according to many poskim. This can also be done through sending an email, even through a discussion over Zoom. You could be makna it to him. The best is though if you actually handed it to him. There is another method that could be done, and the other method that could be done is that you can what's called, and I realize that I'm going to be dealing with a lot of technicalities, and we don't have 5 hours for me to go into and explain out all the technicalities. If you would like more explanation on technicalities, I'd be happy to give that to you at a different time. But there is a concept as follows. If your vessel is ownerless, so then again, it's only when it's owned by a Jew does it require to be toveled in a mikvah. So if you make your vessel that you bought ownerless, you say, I'm being mafkir this. It's not mine. When you buy it from the store, or when you get it home, you say it is, when you bring it into your house, you say, it's not mine. I'm not acquiring it. And then you declare it as being hefker. Many poskim suggest leave it outside for a minute or two so that technically if somebody would come along, they could take it. It's hefker, it is ownerless, it is not mine. What they're suggesting to do is to do that in front of 3 people. Where are you going to get 3 people? I haven't seen 3 people in 2 weeks. So where are you going to get the people? Zoom. All you have to do, it's a question of witnessing, and that you need to say in front of 3 people, I am relinquishing ownership on the vessels that I bought, on these metal and glass vessels that require a mikvah. They are not mine, they are hefker, they are ownerless, and now I'm going to take them, not acquiring them, but I'm going to use them over Pesach. This is only something that can be done under duress this year because of the situation. There are those poskim that say this lasts for 30 days. At 30 days, you gotta figure something out. If the mikvahs aren't open yet, you're gonna have to redo something. And if not, if the mikvahs are open, then you immediately have to, as soon as the mikvah is open, as soon as you can get to a mikvah, you have to take these vessels and get to a mikvah. Now you have a little practical thing you have to worry about, because if you're like me, you ain't never gonna remember how many vessels you bought, which of those vessels are, and which was last year's new pat and which is this year's new pat. So therefore you should put a little sticker, a little marker, or write down a list of the things that you were mafkir, the things you said were ownerless, and then you can go and after Pesach, take those to the mikvah and bring them to the mikvah. Please understand also, many of you know me well. Some of you have no idea who I am. I am not a maverick. I'm not telling you, though it sounds like that's crazy what I just said to you, but this is normative halacha. This is what the poskim, this is what our poskim are saying. What's very interesting, I was listening to some of the things that Rabbi Heinemann, a major posik in America, a major posik in Baltimore, where Rabbi Heinemann was saying, one of the things Rabbi Heinemann said was fascinating. He said, it does not yet have, and he spoke a week ago, it does not yet have the din, the corona does not have a din of a magefa. A magefa, a plague, has a very specific halachic definition. There are a certain amount of people that have to die in one day in a certain place, in a location for it to be called a magefa. Well, I haven't talked to him, but I can only imagine that he is calling it a magefa today, because over the past 2 days in neighborhoods, in Muncie, in Borough Park, in places in New York, in Lakewood, unfortunately, there have been multiple petiras, and therefore, I think that halachically, I'm again not pasking, but halachically, I think that it slides into that place called a magefa. Okay, that was issue number one. Issue number two, Tainis Bechorim. Erev Pesach, we have a custom that the firstborn fast. We have another custom that we have developed that we know that if you go to a siyum, if you participate in the conclusion of a tractate, so then it is a Yom HaTov Rabbanon, it is a holiday, it's a great day for the rabbis, and therefore if you participate in a siyum, you can eat food and you do not have to fast. I know that in where I come from, in La Jolla, it is, for me, it is one of the greatest days since Rosh Hashanah. And why is it one of the greatest days since Rosh Hashanah? Because many of the people that come to shul on Erev Pesach, I haven't seen since Rosh Hashanah. It's an amazing thing how many people come with the thought of having to fast Erev Pesach in order to save themselves a fast. People that don't necessarily daven with a minyan, people that don't necessarily come to other learning things. But it's beautiful to come to fulfill this custom. They come to shul to participate in the siyum. You know, it's amazing what somebody will do for a donut. Okay, now, so this year, you're not going to shul. There is not going to be any minyanim. There's not going to be any siyumim. So what do? So the poskim are saying that we can do the siyum over Zoom. Now, I knew this already, and the reason I knew this already is because I have a congregant of mine, as a son of a congregant of mine, a very dear, beloved kid who, for the past 10 years, has asked me, what time is the siyum? And I tell him always 10 minutes early, so that I know that there's a chance that he'll be there. And every single year for the past 10 years, he has missed the siyum. So a couple of years ago, we spoke to a posek, and we asked, can we do this over the phone? So save this guy a little bit of pain. Can we do it over the phone? And the posek said, yes, b'diavad, it can be done over the phone. This year, it's not really b'diavad. This year, when we have no choice, we can do it over the phone, over Zoom, there's going to be many siyumim all over the world, and you were able to participate in the siyum. A few instructions though. Number one, I saw a great thing today. If you have the opportunity to be able to make your own siyum, to complete, if you're a firstborn or you have a firstborn son that you need to fast for, so then you should make your own siyum, if you can. If you can't, I saw somebody put up a thing today. the shortest Masechta is actually a tractate in the Jerusalem Talmud called Tractate Makos in the Jerusalem Talmud. He, in an hour and a half, put the entire Jerusalem, he said it over in an hour and a half. So you can invest 1 hour and a half, learn an entire tractate, and you can make your own siyum without having to worry about getting onto Zoom. If you'd like that link, I can't do it now while I'm talking, but I will try to get you that link. Just leave me a message on the chat. Okay, the other way to do it is you can also finish a perek in Mishnayos, a tractate in Mishnayos. Pirkei Avos is a very good one. You have to learn it. You can't just read it. But if you learn it between now and next week, you have a week's time. There are 6 chapters. You learn a chapter a day. So then you can make a siyum on that also. In the absence of those two, so then you can do a Zoom siyum. And what happens if you miss even the Zoom siyum? So it's really something I would rather say privately than publicly, but there are many poskim that hold that nowadays, since everybody goes to a siyum, we've sort of been mivato, we've sort of nullified and knocked out this whole concept of the fast. And b'diavad, post facto, if a person has no choice, they've missed every siyum in their town, and their computer's not working, there's a blackout, so they can't do any kind of Zoom siyum, so then a person would still be able to eat without participating in a siyum because of the status of the custom. But that is only if a person has no other choice. Lechatchila, what a person should do: A, learn yourself; B, participate in a Zoom siyum. And one other caveat: at the end of the siyum, you should have some mizonos. You should have, or wash. You can have a bagel because it's done early in the morning. But you should have something that constitutes a suda, that constitutes a meal, so that you're showing that you're actually connecting to and participating in this siyum. Beautiful. Okay, issue number 3. Mechiras chametz, selling the chametz. We have a custom that when we sell the chametz, we go to the Rav and we make a kinyan. We make a means of acquisition. We pick up a shmata, a cell phone. I know that there's a rabbi that does that, right? Or with keys, right? That we make a kinyan with the rabbi. The truth is, this year that's not going to be possible. When this thing first started, I thought it would be possible, but there was a lot of kickback and we decided that we weren't going to do it. And as it turns out now, it's impossible to do because the social contact is impossible. So how do we get around that kinyan? So the kinyan is only a custom. And therefore, since it's only a custom, we don't have to worry. In a year like this, we do not have to worry about making a kinyan. All we have to worry about is filling out a form and sending that in to a rabbi, to an organization, to someplace that is going to sell their chametz. The shtar, the contract itself, appointing that rabbi as your agent to sell the chametz is enough, and that's in fact all that is needed for the sale of chametz. There are some. Okay, great. I've been asked this question many times. Some of you that asked me this question are actually here tonight. Normally, our custom is we don't sell chametz gomer. We don't sell cookies and cakes, breads. We don't sell real chametz. We sell the stuff that's mixtures of chametz. We sell the stuff that's chametz that's mixed into other things, but we don't sell real chametz. We try to use up all the chametz before Pesach. We burn the stuff that's left over from the search of chametz. We don't sell chametz. We don't sell real chametz. What about this year? There are 2 reasons. One is because it's difficult to consume. We're not going to be able to make a fire. Plus, who knows what's going to be after Pesach? Many people are worried that if I give away my bread now, who knows what's going to be after Pesach? And maybe the 6 loaves of bread that I have, of challah that I have in the freezer, maybe I'm going to need those after Pesach. Because who knows if things are going to be available. Here in Israel, so far, I think that everything has been available. It's been amazing, actually. Now, I was a little surprised. But in America, I understand that it's not quite that way. And that there are many stores, there are many places that are running out of things. If a person feels, and you have to be honest and make an honest assessment with this, but if you feel that you need that chametz, you need those boxes of pasta, you need that those breads and cookies, the cereal boxes, because you can't take the chance of getting rid of them because you don't know what's going to be after Pesach because of Corona. So therefore, it would be mutar, it would be permissible to sell chametz kamar. However, normally our custom is not to sell it. When you change your custom, you have to do a thing called hataras nedarim. Hataras nedarim means relinquishing a vow, standing in front of three a beis din, and saying that the vow that I made, I relinquish it. As if I would have known this when I first made the vow, then I never would have made the vow. And then the vow is annulled. It's called an annulment of vows. We do this on Erev Rosh Hashanah. We do this at other times when we have actually serious vows that we've made that we need to relinquish. Does a person need to relinquish a vow in order to be able to hold on to their chametz gomer this year? According to most poskim, we do not have to do hataras nedarim, and the reason is because listen to the way that we talked about this custom. We have, it's our practice not to sell chametz gomer. In other words, we never took it on ourselves as a minhag. We never took it on ourselves as an absolute practice. It's something that we try if we can. Look, in any year, let's say you had 30 bottles of whiskey in your house, you'd be hunting for a heter, not to be able to sell that. And that's chametz gomer. You'd be hunting for a heter. So if that's the case, if you would normally, again, in a situation of need, look for a way to hold on to the chametz and to be able to sell it with your chametz rather than to get rid of it, so then certainly this year would be no different and you would not have to do hataras nedarim. Okay, what about chametz that you left at work or in your dormitory? And you left work thinking you would be back in a week, and you ain't getting back there till Shavuos. So what are you going to do with that chametz that's sitting there, that chametz gomer that's sitting there? Again, you can sell that chametz along with the rest of your chametz, and even though it might be chametz gomer, so then that is fine. You can sell that chametz along with everything else. Okay. Let's just talk about bedikas chametz for one quick second, because there's no difference in bedikas chametz and the search for chametz. The only difference is that we're in a stressful time. Now, when I say a stressful time, many people are handling the stress amazingly. I'm amazed actually at when I'm speaking to people and I see all of you. Everybody's got things they're worried about and changes that they have to make, which we'll talk about more in the class tomorrow night, American time tomorrow night. Of how to deal with those changes. And people are dealing with them in such a healthy, beautiful way. But look, at the end of the day, people with kids, your kids are home, and you're on top of each other all day long. All I can tell you is like this: stop and think and figure how you're going to do bedikas chametz, and how you're going to do bedikas chametz in the most beautiful kind of way, in a learning kind of way, in a fun kind of way with the family. Because one moment of anger during bedikas chametz is worse than all the chametz that's in the house. And it's just a good thing to keep in mind with all of the preparations for Pesach, that all the preparations for Pesach, part of the chametz that we're trying to get rid of is that anger, is that discomfort, is that tension, that stress. That's the internal chametz that we have that we're trying to remove. Okay, next issue. Let's talk about burning chametz. So burning chametz. Okay, I've got that later in the show, but let's do it right now. Burning chametz. So burning chametz is biur chametz. It's a mitzvah. It's an obligation to destroy the chametz. This year, in Eretz Yisrael, they're saying no fires. In many places in America, they're saying no fires. Rabbi Heineman in Baltimore was saying what I had suggested also, but I imagine that this week he's going to change his mind, and I will probably end up changing my mind also. That originally what we said was bring your chametz to the shul will make a fire, you'll drop it off in a box, nobody will see each other, there'll be no social contact, it's a drive-by dropping, right? You'll just drive by the shul, drop your chametz and go. But I think that even that might be problematic. The standing outside and making a fire, even if it's only one person that's standing, might cause ire from the neighbors. People might look at that in a negative kind of way, and that's the last thing that we Jews can afford to do right now, especially in America. because the amount of anti-Semitism that is growing in America now is shocking. You might not feel it yet in San Diego, but there are places that are not serving Orthodox Jews because they say, you guys are the ones that are bringing the virus. There are places that are reluctant to help Orthodox Jews because they're being blamed and accused of spreading this virus. Okay, and because of that, there is another way, two other ways that you can destroy your chametz. One way is sell the larger quantities. The 10 pieces of bread that you used for the search for chametz, take those into the bathroom, crumble them, and flush them down the toilet. That is biur chametz. Just be careful when you say kol chamira, not in the toilet. Go outside and say the kol chamira, relinquish the ownership of nullify the chametz. But you can get away with that. There is another method. You can take the chametz and pour bleach on it so that it becomes nifsal me'achilas kelev. It becomes something that is nullified from the eating of dogs, and therefore it would be permissible to destroy it, to ruin it that way, and that is considered destroyed, and then you can put it out with the garbage. There is a little bit of an issue where you put your garbage, but let's not deal with that for the moment. But you can, those are the two methods by which we can do biur chametz this year. And I know emotionally everybody wants to make that fire, right? We that fire, whether we make it or we go to somebody's fire, whatever it is, it's a big thing. Yeah, big thing, not going to happen this year. Okay. Next, let's get a little controversial. Let's talk about two fun things. First thing let's talk about kitnius. So there is a lot of talk in the world. Every year, there's talk about, this is the year that we got to get rid of kitnius. I'll tell you like this. Kitnios, legumes, it's an Ashkenazic custom. Those of you that are Sephardics have no idea what I'm talking about. The Ashkenazim, we do not eat legumes, we do not eat peanuts, we do not eat rice, we do not eat things that fall into the category of legumes. That category of legumes is actually very big. If you look in the Starkey, they put in a very good list, and there is a lot of things that are actually considered kitnios. Okay, great, we don't eat kitnios. The poskim today say we don't eat kitnios, derivatives, that's why we don't use corn syrup and the like. Great. Is it a big deal? No, it's a custom. Do the reasons of the custom really even apply today? Maybe not even, because it used to be that in the wheat crops, in the rice crops, there was wheat that got mixed in, and we were worried about chametz. We're not so worried about that anymore, but it doesn't matter, because it's a minhag of Klal Yisrael. And something that is a minhag of Klal Yisrael, we can't tamper with minhagim. Our whole religion is based on Masorah. It's based on traditions. Sometimes wacky traditions weave themselves into the fabric of Judaism. But once they become the fabric of Judaism, we can't tamper with them. An Ashkenazi, a Sephardi, you never had it. The Sephardic rabbis never accepted this as a custom. Shkoyach, lucky guys. But the Ashkenazim did. And since the Ashkenazim did, this has become a fabric of Ashkenazic Judaism, and therefore we are obligated to follow this. We do not look to get rid of it. Now, this year, many people are claiming that, I don't even know what they're claiming. They're just claiming, oh, this is the year we have to get rid of it because of the virus. Yeah, maybe we should take our yarmulkes off because of the virus also. Like, what's shaykhs? What does one thing have to do with the other? There's no reason to get rid of it just because there's a virus. If there was a shortage of food, I guarantee you, I promise you, all the Gedolei Rabbanim would get together, and in a nanosecond, they would repeal and they would tell people that they could eat rice. But there isn't that. We're not in that matzav this year. We're not in that situation. If we were in that situation, we would remove it. But given the situation is the way it is right now, there is no reason to have to remove kitnios, to remove that stricture of kitnios, and therefore kitnios is, as they say, here to stay. However, what about medicine that a person needs to take? Even medicine that is not being prescribed, but medicine that a person is taking, like vitamins that have kitnios in them, and that the doctors are saying that in order to protect yourself against the virus, you need to take this vitamin C or other things that contain kitnios. Would it be permissible for a person to take those pills even if they are good tasting pills, would it be permissible for a person to take those pills on Pesach? The truth is, the answer is, if you look at, they have these lists in America of all the medicines. The Kollel from Los Angeles has a fantastic list, which the Star K has incorporated. The Rabbi Blumenkrantz has a fantastic list where they list every medicine, and with the kidneys, derivatives and problems and everything. At the end of the day, what happens if you're taking, let's talk about a heart medicine. You're taking a heart medicine and it's got kidneys in it. Are you allowed to take that medicine? The answer is yes. If you have no substitute for it, you are of course allowed to take that medicine. A pill is not considered derech achila. It's not considered the normal way of eating. And therefore, if we're dealing with pills, there is, at the end of the day, if you cannot find a substitute for it, then it is permissible to take it. But vitamins, we never allow you in a regular year to take vitamins that are kidneos. This year, taking preventive medicine is ki'ilu. You're taking medicine to push away a sickness. It's ki'ilu, you are already sick, and you're taking it away because of the proportions of people that are coming down with this virus. We are allowed to do those things, and we are propelled into a category of halacha that it's not merely just protective medicine, but it's actually proactive medicine to ensure that we don't get sick. And therefore, if that's the case, it would be permissible to take pills. There are a couple of interesting halachic issues, but those are really just issues. There's a concept called achshevei, that if we take it and we eat it, it shows that it's not really nifsal mechilas kelev. It's not really something that's nullified from the eating of a dog, but that's only if you eat a certain amount of them. I don't want to make you crazy with all the details. At the end of the day, it is permissible to take pills that have kidneos in them. It is permissible to take them, vitamins and the like. It's permissible to take them this year on Pesach. Okay, if you've been breathing for the past 2 weeks and you have been conscious, so then maybe a week and a half, then the biggest thing you've been talking about, besides Nebuch, all the crazy stuff that's going on, is, did you hear what the rabbis in Jerusalem said? You can have a Seder on Zoom. Okay, so let's address this for a moment. First of all, let's understand who said it. And I'm not putting down any rabbis. They were Sephardic rabbis. Right away, the Sephardic rabbis have a different position on electricity that the Ashkenazic rabbis have. And therefore, by definition, their position on this issue is going to be different than the position of the Ashkenazic Jews. That's number one. Number two, you have to understand exactly what the situation was. That they said it would be okay to have a Zoom camera on while you were conducting your Seder, so that your parents, whoever could participate in your Seder. They were talking about a situation that a person was perhaps suicidal or on the brink of dying, and therefore you needed to remain connected to them, and therefore they permitted the Zoom camera to be able to do that. Short of that, that wasn't really the heter. It wasn't just because your kids are not going to make it for Pesach, so therefore you put the Zoom camera on and everybody can be together for Pesach. That was not the way that they issued that ruling. There are three issues with the Zoom camera. The first issue is having electricity on, having a camera on, taking pictures, actively taking pictures. That is a halachic problem. Not for the scope of this year, but a fascinating problem. It's the reason why the Kotel Cam gets shut. The Orthodox Kotel Cams get shut on Shabbos because you can't, and many video cameras in many places, other than security cameras, but many video cameras shut on Shabbos so that the pictures are not taken on Shabbos. That's problem number one. Problem number two, it's called Uvda Dechol. Uvda Dechol means that it is a weekday activity, having a camera on, sitting there and waving at, Aunt Bessie on the other side of the camera. The whole thing is an Uvda Dechol. It's a weekday activity, not appropriate for the aura and the atmosphere of Shabbos and Yom Tov. And the third is very real. Anybody who's learning Daf Yomi just finished learning Gemaras that talk about that you're not allowed to learn Torah by a light of a lamp. Because we're worried, Shemayata, that you're going to turn the lamp and you're going to make it burn better so that you can read in a better kind of way. And there was a great rabbi who said, I don't got to worry. I would never do that. And he did. It is a real problem. Now, it happens to be, I don't go near my camera, but I am forever touching my microphone. I've got a very cool little microphone, and I'm always trying to bring it closer to me. When I see that maybe somebody's not hearing me, I bring it closer. The chances of coming, and what happens if there's a little bit, a little bit of wavering on the screen, and you try to fix it, it is something that is you can put up a fence, you can stick it behind glass. It doesn't matter. It's something that could happen. And along with that comes the second day's Yontif. And you say, that Seder was so geschmack. The Shviger was able to be with me. My family was able to be with me. Why don't we do this for Shvi Shel Pesach, for the last day Pesach? And you know what? Why don't we do this for Shabbos also? That was not where the heter was given. It was given specifically for a Seder under certain circumstances. And therefore, bottom line, all Ashkenazic, I shouldn't say all, I take that back, many responsible Ashkenazic Poskim are saying there's no such thing as being able to leave on a Zoom camera. If you have an emergency situation, then ask your LOR, your local Orthodox rabbi, what you should do. But as a general heter, to be able to have a Seder through the Zoom, that is not permissible. Having said that, I want to say two things. I'm speaking halacha here. Tomorrow night, I'm speaking to the heart. These issues in a very different kind of way. But let's understand, it is a very big problem. It is a huge issue that people are not going to be with people for the Pesach Seder. What the halachic ruling is a halachic ruling. But there is something that can be done. I saw the most beautiful thing by a Rabbi Rimon here in Eretz Yisrael, who just the whole way that he wrote it and put it forth was just so sensitive and beautiful. He said, figure out a time. Everybody's different time zones, different countries, figure out a time and get the whole mishpacha together on Zoom and sing your songs, have everybody in the family tell over something about last year's Seder that they're going to miss or that they love. Tell over an idea that they heard about the Pesach Seder, and do that as close to Yontif as possible, so that you go right from there with those feelings and those thoughts and those emotions, and you take that right in to your Pesach Seder wherever you are. And I just thought that it was such a beautiful way of being able to accommodate both things, to be able to accommodate the halacha and to be sensitive to understand that we still need each other and we need people. For some, it's not even the family that they need to be with. It's people that they make Seder with every year. It's their friends. It's their community. Whatever it is, figure it out. Figure it out and make that work, because it is a very beautiful way of beginning Pesach. Okay, let's go some more issues. God forbid anybody has to go into the hospital and has to be released with corona on Shabbos. Are they allowed to come home? So according to many poskim, they would be allowed to come home and be allowed to be driven by a Jew, because being in a cab with a driver or being in a Uber with a driver is not safe, and therefore with a family member who they can be alone with. So with a family member, a Jewish family member is allowed to drive them home on Shabbos, because they can't stay in the hospital. You need to get out of the hospital as soon as you can, because it's dangerous in the hospital. And therefore, it would be permissible. Of course, you have to be careful how you turn off and on the engine. You have to do that with a shinui, with a change. Any kind of muktzah you're going to deal with, you have to deal with a change, doing it in an odd way, but nevertheless, it would be permissible. Okay, let's deal with some very small, these are minor issues, but some very practical issues. On Shabbos Chol HaMoed, we have a custom of saying Shir Hashirim, the Song of Songs, from King Solomon. So does one have an obligation to say the Song of Songs on Shabbos Chol HaMoed of Pesach? If you're obviously not davening in a minyan, we don't usually say it from a scroll. We usually say it from a chumash. But nevertheless, does one have an obligation to say Shir Hashirim? And the answer is no, because it's really not a chiyuv, an obligation on every individual. It's an obligation on the tzibur, on the community. Nevertheless, is it a good idea to read the Song of Songs? Yes, for the very reason that it was instituted, because it is the Holy of Holies. It's a beautiful song of love to God. And on Pesach is the appropriate time to read that Song of Songs. Okay, another issue, haircuts. I saw today somebody sent around a great thing, a video that taught how to give yourself a haircut. Because Yontif is coming, you're not going to be able to get a haircut for Yontif. Sfira is coming after Yontif, and you're not going to be able to take a haircut. So it was a beautiful video of how to give yourself a home haircut job. Great, it's wonderful. For those that are not going to do that, so what do we do? Because you're not going to take a haircut before Yontif. Yontif goes right into Sfira. What happens? So let me tell you interesting things. The reason that we shave before Yontif is because we're not allowed to shave on Chol HaMoed. The reason that we can't shave on Chol HaMoed, the intermediate days of the festival, we can't take a haircut and shave, so that we don't leave it over from Erev Yontif to Chol HaMoed. So now we're not mezalzel, we don't degrade the Yom Tov. Okay, what happens if this year everything opens up during Chol HaMoed, and now we can get to a barber during Chol HaMoed? Would it be permissible for us to take a haircut and shave? And the answer is yes. And the reason, I'm not saying you should, but it would be permissible. And the reason that it was permissible is because we didn't delay it because of Zilzal. We delayed it because we simply weren't allowed to take a haircut. And everybody, the whole world was in the same boat. So no one's going to look at you and say, oh my gosh, that person doesn't care about Yontif, and therefore would be permissible to do that. Now what happens if the few days after Pesach, I was reading an article today that Bennett said that a few days after Pesach it's all going to be released. We're going to go back into the world. I don't know if that's true, but that's what he said. Could be a fantasy, but that's what he said. Now, what happens if that happens? So it's now before Rosh Chodesh Iyar, but it is after Pesach. Sfira, for those people that keep the first part of Sfira is already started. Would I be allowed to shave? So there's two answers. The one is, yes, just switch your custom. Just say that I'm starting this year after Rosh Chodesh, and then you can shave and you don't have to worry about it. There are poskim that are saying, and this I have to do a little more research into, but there are poskim that are saying that it actually would be permissible, again, for the same kind of reason. They have a lumdus that has to do with mourning, with avelus. Not to go into it right now, but I would have to look into it further. But it would seem, for example, if everything gets released after Rosh Chodesh, so then there are poskim that say that it would be permissible. Don't do anything without asking your local Orthodox rabbi. I will look into it and be happy to answer your question. Okay, a few more little issues. Time flies when you're having fun. Okay, there's one issue that I put in a letter to my congregation, which I actually am going to have to publicize a change on, and that is Hallel Pesach night. We have a custom in our shul that we say Hallel, the full Hallel with a bracha, on Pesach night at the end of Ma'ariv. That is a very old custom, an important custom, a beautiful custom. Nevertheless, when you're not davening with a minyan, that custom doesn't apply. And therefore, when you're davening at home this year, you don't have to say, even if your custom is to say Hallel, so then we don't recite Hallel this year at the end of Ma'ariv. We just regular Ma'ariv, Aleinu, and then the Hallel that we're going to say at the Seder. Okay, what happens if your parents tell you that you should come to the Pesach Seder? And you say to yourself, it's not safe. I can't do this to my parents, can't do it to my kids, can't do it to my wife, not going. And your parents say, Kabed es ovicho v'es imecho. What do? You quote them the other half of the pasuk. When it says, Ish imay v'aviv tiro, every man, his mother and his father you shall fear, v'es shabsosai tishmoru, and you have to guard my Sabbaths. The rabbis ask, why are those two commandments in the same verse? Keep Shabbos and honor your parents, because you only have to honor your parents up to the point that they tell you to break Shabbos. But if your parents tell you to break Shabbos, you're under no obligation to listen to them. If your parents are telling you to do something that is against the rules, something that is clearly not something that is acceptable this year, you are under no obligation to listen to them. And therefore, because of Kibbut Av V'Eim, that's not a reason to listen to them. Okay, I just thought an interesting little factoid. Just a few interesting things to know about davening. When on Shabbos, and not necessarily on Yom Tov, because it's not the same obligation, but on Shabbos, we have a custom, we have developed a custom now that when we're davening at home, that we lane the parsha. We read the entire parsha as if we're laning it. It is not obligatory, but many people, because really Kriyas HaTorah is a obligation of the tzibur, of a congregation, but nevertheless, many people are to keep that alive. So then they read the Torah. We have another obligation on Shabbos called Shnai Mikra V'Yachad Targum, reading the parsha twice with the Aramaic translation. And there has been a lot of talk that we're not obligated to do that nowadays. That's not true. But even though we're not davening with a minyan, we still have an obligation. According to some, we have more of an obligation to do Shnai Mikra V'Yachad Targum. One of the times of Mikra, one of the times that you read the verses of the Torah, that could be the laning that you do in the middle of your davening, and then you do one more time with the Aramaic translation. Okay, parts of davening that are not said if you're davening alone. So the Shachris, we say Yukum Perkans. The two Yukum Perkans are not recited. I saw some people that said that the first one is, the second one is not, but in general, the person can say that we don't say the Yukum Perkans after Musaf before Ashrei. The reason is because they are Aramaic prayers. The angels don't understand Aramaic, and therefore you need a minyan to be able to propel those prayers up to God. And therefore, since we don't have a minyan, so then those are not recited. Friday night davening, Vayechulu. You're davening alone. There's no other man with you. What do? So you say Vayechulu. Many people hold that, a lot of times if you missed Vayechulu, you were davening Shemona Esrei, so you would go over to another man in shul, and the two of you would say together Vayechulu. Though it's our custom, but it's not really so necessary. You can get away with saying Vayechulu on your own. And therefore, you can, on a Friday night when you're davening alone, you still say Vayechulu. You do not say Magen Avos. If you look in a siddur, you'll know what I'm talking about. You don't say Magen Avos, which is the next two paragraphs. When you start Ma'ariv during the week, we say V'hu Rachum Yichaper Avon, and then we go into Baruch Hu. Obviously, we don't say Baruch Hu, but you still say V'hu Rachum. On Pesach, first day Pesach, we say Tfilas Tal. We say the prayer for dew. We don't recite that without a minyan. If you wanted to say the piyut, you wanted to say that liturgical poem that's printed in Musaf, you certainly can. For the Ashkenazim in America, we say by Mincha, we leave out Mashiv Ruach Merid Agoshem. So we still say Mashiv Ruach Merid Agoshem by Musaf. But in Eretz Yisrael, where we say Morid Hatal, so then we say Morid Hatal in Musaf. Okay. Two other really interesting issues. Do we sing Shalom Aleichem on Friday night? Not Pesach. Pesach, my custom. You can have, everybody has their own custom. Do your own custom. My custom is Friday night, Chol HaMoed Pesach or Yom Tov. You don't say Shalom Aleichem. But on a regular Shabbos, this Shabbos, you come home from you come out from where you're davening, and you now want to start your meal. Do you sing Shalom Aleichem? Or why would you sing Shalom Aleichem? Because the Gemara says that when you come home from shul, two angels escort you. The whole reason we say Shalom Aleichem is we're saying Shalom Aleichem to the angels that escort us coming from shul. We're not coming from shul. So therefore, there are no malachim. Do we then still recite Shalom Aleichem? And there are people that say no, but in fact, most poskim say that we do in fact say Shalom Aleichem, because the reason that we're not going to shul is not because we're not deciding not to go to shul, because we can't go to shul. And therefore the malachim is still with us. The angels are still with us. We welcome them. We sing to them. We do what we normally do on a Friday night. We say the regular Shalom Aleichem. One last issue. Kiddush Levana. We have to now sanctify the new month. Rosh Chodesh was last week, and we have to sanctify the new month. Problem is, you can do it alone. If you have to do it alone, you can do it alone. Problem is, who are you going to say Shalom Aleichem to? Right? One of the things that we do in the middle of Kiddush Levana is we turn to three people who say Shalom Aleichem, Aleichem Shalom, Shalom Aleichem, Aleichem Shalom. Right? A little Japanese thing. Everybody's bowing. Right? It's cute. Okay, Shalom Aleichem. Why do we say Shalom Aleichem? Why do we do that during Kiddush Levana? Because We have just said, Tipul aleim emasav v'pachad, that the fear and the trepidation should fall on them. God's fear and trepidation, in other words, his punishment. And then we turn to everybody around us and we say to them, Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem. It's like to ward off that negative effect of that Tipul aleim emasav v'pachad. Okay, there is nobody there, we still say Shalom Aleichem. You could say Shalom Aleichem to your wife. You could say Shalom Aleichem to anybody else that's there. And we say Shalom Aleichem 3 times. Shalom Aleichem, Aleichem Shalom, Shalom Aleichem, Aleichem Shalom, Shalom Aleichem, Aleichem Shalom. Okay, beautiful. Okay, there are obviously many, many more issues. If anybody has a burning issue, ask me. You can ask me now. Let me just make my commercials again. But don't leave yet until I make the commercials. 3 commercials. Commercial number 1. On the side in the Zoom group chat, on the side of the Zoom, you will see the YouTube channel is the first thing up on top, on the very top of the Zoom group chat. It's the www.youtube.com channel, and it has a few of my classes, my assistant rabbi's classes also, but it has a few of my classes on there, and especially it has a class from the other night, which is an hour-and-a-half long class, which runs through the Seder, and it gives you step by step of what you need to do to prepare to make a beautiful Seder. Okay, that's number 1. Number 2, if you want to be part of our WhatsApp group to find out about the shurim that I'm giving here in Israel, and to get advertisements, even for some of the shurim that I'm giving Zoom in America, so you can join that group. You'll see that as the second and third link there. That's under Aaron Wogelinter, and you can join the chat here. So join the WhatsApp group, and this way you'll be notified for things that are happening. And then the other is that tomorrow, Thursday, American time, 7:30 at night, which is a little bit too early here. It's 5:30 in the morning, but I'm giving a shiur about going through this Pesach and about the things we need to feel and to think, and how to turn this Pesach into an amazing, memorable moment, rather than just the Pesach that we survived. At the end of this Pesach, we're not getting T-shirts that say, I survived Pesach 2020. We're going to get T-shirts at the end of this Pesach, I thrived Pesach 2020. And that's going to give us some perspective, some things to think about. And it'll be, hopefully I'll remember to record it, and that will be up on the YouTube channel also. Okay. And one last commercial. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Israel time, 8:45 in the morning, which is, I think, the middle of the night in San Diego. But I think it's the middle of the night. In Israel time, 8:45. I give a class in Pirkei Avos, and try it a couple of times. See if you like it. It's really, I think it's a beautiful class. Got a beautiful crowd, nice people. I do invite and encourage everyone to join us. Okay, have a Chag Kosher V'Sameach. I hope to see everyone tomorrow night, Thursday night. Excuse me. What's today? Today's Wednesday. Right, Thursday night. I hope to see everybody Thursday night. Friday morning Israel time, 5:30 in the morning. I hope to see everybody there. And it promises to be, I think, a very uplifting and beautiful class. Oh, one other commercial. There will be Sunday night of next week at, I believe, 7:30, my Shabbos HaGadol Drasha. Normally that Shabbos HaGadol Drasha is delivered on Shabbos. That ain't going to happen because, we just learned Zoom on Shabbos. Maybe for the Drasha you could. No, joking. But but we can't use the Zoom, so therefore the Drasha is going to take place on Sunday night. Again, uplifting words, preparing us for the holiday of Pesach. Okay, thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Have a wonderful evening. Oh, it's great to see everybody.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you. Wonderful seeing you, Shoshi, and everybody else. It's Devorah. Bye.
Oh, I didn't know.
Bye.
It's great to see everybody.
Thank you, Rabbi.
I recognize that voice.
South
You
Africa.
recognize this one? You recognize this one?
I do.
Good.
My old babysitter.
Yeah, very good. Talk to you soon. Thank you.
Bye. Thank
Take care,
you.
everyone. Chag kosher v'sameach.
Thank you.